And have you noticed, yeah, the standard for black women to be well kept is higher for any other type of...
Oh my God.
It's like to be deemed as a good looking black woman, yeah, you have to be 10 out of 10, 7 days a week, 24/7. And we are not given the grace, not that we need to be given it, but we don't have a relaxed, casual look where we're still rated 10 out of 10.
Nope.
You have to be looking red carpet ready all the time. And that's because a lot of people treat black women as something that you have to be in awe with.
Yeah.
Speak up when I hop about to cut, I promise I'm gonna speak up when I hop about to cut, I promise I'm gonna speak up when I hop about to cut, I promise I'm gonna make a scene, got life.
We've all heard of it. Some of us have internalized it, and too many of us have lived it. You're pretty for a black girl. It's a backhanded compliment rooted in centuries of colonial beauty standards, colorism, and anti-blackness. But what does it really mean, and why is it still used in 2025? Today, we're breaking down why that phrase is more than just ignorant. It's a symptom of a much deeper issue. From the way dark-skinned women are treated on reality TV to the quiet ways featurism shapes who gets celebrated versus who gets dragged. We're unpacking it all in this video. But if you are new here, hi, my name is Caroline, your internet bestie who loves to yap and use my love of commentary to give glory to God and uplift other women. Everything said in this space is 100% opinion based, so if you agree or disagree with anything said here, leave a comment down below as I love learning and growing with all of you. Also, subscribe and join our bestie family if you want to, though. It's 100% your choice. The history of the pretty for a black girl complex. The phrase pretty for a black girl implies that black girls, specifically dark-skinned, broader featured black girls, are exceptions to the norms. And what is that norm? Thin noses, light eyes, soft curls, and Eurocentric beauty features. As a black woman, not only a black woman, but a dark-skinned black woman, a lot of the things researched in this video are facts that I have compiled together, but then a lot of them are also just life experience. I do want to just foreshadow something before any of you go to the comments and try to give think pieces on what is said in the video. First, I'd say watch the full video. Second, I'd say don't try to, I guess, invalidate somebody's direct experience if they're simply just sharing it. So this is from the lens of my experience as well as a lot of other women who grow up in America. I can't generalize this to all black women across the globe, but specifically I can to black women who grow up in the USA, because that is my personal experience and that is the lens that I have done the research under. Dr. Yaba Blay, a cultural critic and scholar, once said, "To be told you're pretty for a black girl is to be told you're pretty despite being black, not because of it." In the 18th and 19th century, pseudoscientific racism categorized African features as inferior. Those ideas still bleed into our current beauty culture. According to a 2011 study from Stanford University, black women with more African features were more likely to receive harsher criminal sentencing than those with Eurocentric features. Cut to 2000s, magazines are showing mostly light-skinned black celebrities like Halle Berry, Beyonce, when they did actually show a black celebrity, and those women were hailed as beautiful while darker-skinned women were largely absent. Now, there's going to be some people that go in the comments and like, oh, well, what about Kelly Rowland? And what about these one-off people? Yes, there were definitely dark-skinned women who were celebrated in the industries back in the early 2000s and in years before. But it's one of those things where you also have to emphasize the fact that even these women had to be exceptionally great beyond the grain in order to get even just a simple amount of recognition. Kelly Rowland, she was a part of a very big girl group, and even in that girl group she wasn't really one of the most known people, but she was able to make a career for herself in the early 2000s. But when you look at her, a lot of people can even say she has Eurocentric features. She has a very slim nose. Her face is very, very gorgeous and symmetrical. And I'm not trying to say that women who have small lips, slim noses are only leaning Eurocentric, because there are Black indigenous groups where this is a very common thing to see. I do want to emphasize that. However, although those are features that can be of Black and African culture, they do also appease Eurocentric culture. Do you get where I'm going with this? So what I'm getting at in this video is that whether it is originating from African, Black, whatever cultural line, if you do phenotypically look African American, dark skin, but your features still favor that of Eurocentric beauty standards, you are treated a lot better than those who look and have African features. As someone who's Nigerian fully, and I have African features, and I have seen the difference in treatment in dark-skinned women who have more Eurocentric features in a lot of different aspects in life. So these are things that I just want to make a video and just finally talk about it, because these topics are important.
It's like if I just saying a peep or something, it's now
taken out of context.
taken out of context.
And now I'm a bad guy. Now I'm a mean girl. Like it's very exhausting, to say the least. I truly feel like me and Shelly have to tone down a lot.
Exactly. We're so loving. Like, we bring everybody a peace of mind, this and that. So to know how your fellow Islanders feel versus coming to the internet and seeing mean girl, disrespectful, angry, this, that. I'm like, wow, y'all really don't know us.
There's subtle microaggressions.
Yeah.
And it's like, just because I'm saying something sternly, it doesn't mean you need to be afraid of me.
Exactly.
That's rooted in something that's anti-Black.
Yeah.
And so it becomes an issue, because now I don't know how to exist in who I am, because I can't take my skin off. That's what's scaring you.
Yeah, that's all it is.
You know what I mean?
If it was somebody else to look like us and acted like whatever, they wouldn't be getting as much backlash at all.
Yeah, and so
Love Island and the dark-skinned girl double standard. Love Island USA. But this actually stems to all Love Islands, but we're not going to talk on the UK today. Now let's focus on Love Island 2025. Love Island USA 2025. This is something that I almost wanted to make a whole video on, but I realized that my goal to make timeless videos and conversations that can still withhold even years from now, it would be kind of redundant to make a whole entire video around Love Island USA, but because I have a lot of things to say about it. But instead, I wanted to tie it back into the bigger issue for me, and that is two of the season's biggest breakout stars, both of them dark-skinned Black women. If you go back to last season of Love Island USA, if you watch the show, the biggest season the show has ever seen had three main breakout stars: Leah, Janell, Serena. Two of them, Serena, Janell, dark-skinned Black women. So we're kind of starting to see a lot more, I guess you could say, rapport when it comes to Black women, specifically dark-skinned women on these shows. You know, these women are paving a way for us that has not been seen in any of the other seasons, really. And especially in its counter season, or I guess counter org in the UK, they're still even working through some of their problems. But I did notice, because of last season, Serena's season, because of how big it is, I am starting to see like a lot of people are like, oh, okay, you know, Black women, dark-skinned women, they're liked. Like, they look good in media. They can be relatable. And that's why, in my opinion, we're starting to see a larger influx in casting of dark-skinned women. When if you watch Love Island USA or UK in the past, that was just not the case. As someone who has watched all Love Islands, I'm not trying to say that as something I'm really proud of, but I have seen the difference in casting, and it's interesting. That's why we're talking about it. But Alandria and Shelly, they're both two dark-skinned Black women who came out of this season. They're both stunning, smart, confident. And yet, the second they did anything wrong, Twitter turned into a firing squad. There were tons and tons of tweets, of YouTube and Instagram comments calling out these women for behavior that other contestants, often white or racially ambiguous, were praised for.
I'm a little upset that everyone is getting mad at Shelly and Alandria for crashing out when 𝚲𝚃 did the same thing that they're doing, and a lot of people still loved her.
Let it have been Jeremiah. Somebody kissed Jeremiah the same way 𝚲𝚃 kissed Ace.
It would have crashed out way
where she would have been out the villa.
I don't want to get into the details because not everybody who's watching this video watched Love Island USA, and I also don't want this to be about the show in general. I really want to stay on the topic, which is that of how dark-skinned women are perceived in the realm of media and how that has transcended and how it's changing, but also how it's not changing for all of us. if that makes sense. And that's really what I wanted to, when I tell people about how I observe Love Island USA when it comes to a lot of these women that are accepted as dark-skinned women on this show and praised, I do see an overlapping thing with all of these women. Yes, they're all gorgeous. They're all beautiful women in general, despite them, like, whatever race they or color they are. But I do notice that these are dark-skinned women that all lean very heavily featurism-wise. They look very Eurocentric. Serena, very slim face, slim nose, like, gives that very Eurocentric look. She's a gorgeous black girl, don't get me wrong, but gives that. Janell, she literally had a nose job, but I don't want to get too into the nuances of that, but looks very Eurocentric because of that. Shelly, Alandria, need I go on? So going back to the show specifically, it's not that these women were just criticized. It's that they were hyper criticized. Their flaws weren't seen as normal or human. They were seen as aggressive, bitter, and masculine. Music artist No Name once tweeted, "Y'all let white girls cry and call it soft. Let a black girl blink wrong and she's got an attitude." But if you're listening to this video and you're still missing the concept, let me put it to you like this. Even though these women had more acceptable features, which is what I'm hitting on in this entire video, Shelly, Alandria, they had very acceptable features. They're beautiful women, yes, but a lot of women who aren't black won't understand where I'm coming from when I say that their features lean more Eurocentric. And if you don't understand that, that's okay. But because they do have those more Eurocentric, favorable features, Shelly has a very beautiful, small doll face. She has a very slim nose. These are Eurocentric, acceptable features, I should say. Same with Alandria, very small, sculpted face, very small nose. These are Eurocentric, acceptable features. Because these women had more acceptable features, slim noses, they were still subjected to harsher judgment. Why? Because they were still visibly dark-skinned. The proximity to Eurocentrism gave them visibility, but not protection. Why this is even important? This kind of goes back to the idea that when people say you're pretty for a black girl, it does not mean it's a compliment. And it also does not mean that they're complimenting you as a human, you as a beautiful black woman. They're complimenting that, hey, you have features that I like. You have things about you that I like that can be considered attractive or conventionally attractive despite being black. They will never associate, not never, sorry, I don't want to generalize, but like in general, a lot of the times when you're hearing that comment from people, they're not associating the beauty of you with blackness. They're associating the beauty of you with other. Or when people ask, oh, you're so beautiful, what are you mixed with? Because you cannot just be beautiful and be black. You have to be mixed with something else, right? These are things that all tie back into this phrase. And I think Love Island USA, when it comes to Shelly and Alandria and how much hate they got in the snap of a finger when they did the smallest thing wrong, and how much grace that their other co-castmates got when they did a lot of things wrong, it's a clear example of this, that black women, despite even having these features that are socially acceptable, you're still not protected by them. Featurism and the flawed beauty hierarchy. So what's the difference between colorism and featurism? Colorism is about skin tone. Featurism is about whose features are deemed attractive. So an example that was used highly when it was pertaining to differentiating featurism and colorism was a dark-skinned girl with a narrow nose and 3A curls will often be treated better than a medium-toned girl with a wider nose and 4C hair. Think about which black TikTok influencers get brand deals. Who's promoted versus who's ignored. When I heard about this comparison in terms of featurism and colorism, I don't like generalizing things just because we all know everything does not actually fall into a box. Just because a girl has 4C hair, larger features, more centered towards African features than Eurocentric features doesn't automatically mean, oh, she's going to be treated bad no matter what skin tone she is, compared to a dark-skinned girl who might have very, very favorable Eurocentric features. Do you know what I mean? I think a clear example of this, I hate to keep on referencing Love Island UK, but is Alandria and Shelly and Clark. I personally feel like Clark has a lot more African-leaning features. Specifically, the first thing you always have to reference is somebody's nose, because that is a big tell-all when it comes to someone's ethnicity. Noses do tell a lot about a person's background. Not a lot of people think about this, and I'd love to make a separate video about the nose in general, general. But I also think that maybe that's a little bit weird to make a whole video about. But aside from that, that is something that can easily differentiate African featurism and Eurocentric favoring featurism. I'm not trying to say Africans don't have slim noses, because there are tons of proof in cultures that do have very slim noses. So I'm not trying to categorize slim noses as just a Eurocentric feature, because it's not. But they do favor Eurocentric features, if that's making sense. So that aside, I have to think about Clark who won Taylor. I feel like she has a lot more African features. She has a little bit more of a wider bridge. She naturally is just built a little bit less Eurocentric favor. The only thing about her that leans more Eurocentric is the fact that she is a lighter skinned woman, compared to Alondra and Shelley, who do have more Eurocentric leaning features, but they're dark skinned women. You know, granted, Taylor and his choice of Clark and all that stuff, I don't want to tie that back to really anything relevant, because I did watch the show and I don't think Taylor is relevant. But overall, I do think that's something that people talk about. You know, you might look at somebody like Clark and be like, oh, well, because she has larger features and stuff like that, does that mean that she's treated worse? I don't necessarily want to say yes, because that's just not the case. You know what I mean? There might be people who have more of a bias towards Clark because she has a fair skin tone, because she looks a certain way, compared to Alondra, or Shelley, who maybe do have more Eurocentric leaning features, but they are still dark skinned women. You know what I mean? So like, I don't really like to get into that type of nuance. But in this topic of comparing colorism and featurism, that's the difference. The featurism of somebody, their hair texture, their nose, the looks of them compared to their skin tone. Historian Janell Hobson writes, featurism is one of the last standing pillars of white supremacy in beauty culture, because it's not about color anymore. It's about conformity. A 2020 paper in Psychology of Women Quarterly found that Black women with broader features were less likely deemed professional or trustworthy in hiring scenarios. I really would like to see a little bit more of the nuances and how they kind of came to this conclusion in this study, because when I do case studies myself in school and do research on them, I'm just like, that's a very broad, I guess, statement. Like, how do you determine that women of stronger African features are deemed less professional, or less likely to be deemed less professional, less likely to be deemed professional or trustworthy? You know, that's something that I feel like you can't really just come to the conclusion with in just one singular study. But I did want to just still share it with you guys, because I thought it was very interesting. And it is something that I don't know if I highly agree with, just because as somebody who, you know, grew up in Texas, lived a little couple different states all over the world, I've seen people of all different featurisms in very professional seats, high seats, CEOs, high companies. I've never seen like, oh, it looks like all of the Black women who seem to reach certain heights all look the same. Personally, I don't agree with that. So I am curious to see where the research is lying in that paper, because it is a very interesting subject and it makes you wonder, is this true?
Share a time that you responded to a backhanded compliment with the same type of energy. I'll start. So one time a white guy walked up to me and was like, oh, you're really pretty for a Black girl. And I immediately responded with, oh, and you're really ugly for a white guy. I don't know why you thought you could approach me. Did I wake up and choose violence that day? Yes. Do I think he deserved that response with the compliment he gave? Yes. Do I think he said it to another Black girl? I hope not. I hope he learned his lesson. And while we're all here, if you compliment someone and put 4A after, it is no longer a compliment. It's an insult. You're saying they're pretty or they're nice or funny or whatever in spite of them being whatever else is after that 4A. So just stop at you're pretty, or don't open your mouth at all. Okay?
The damage of conditional acceptance. Being called pretty for a Black girl can feel like a compliment when you're starved for affirmation, but it's a trap. It teaches Black girls to see themselves as the exception instead of embracing their wholeness. A little background from my own personal experience of being called pretty for a Black girl. You know, some of you are new viewers and you probably don't know. I grew up in a pretty small town in Texas, and it was in East Texas, which is notoriously kind of known as like late to the game part of Texas is the best way I'd put it. Growing up like that, I don't regret my childhood or the childhood friends I made and the people I met, because I do feel like my childhood shaped who I am today. However, growing up, I experienced tons of microaggressions that I didn't understand were microaggressions until I eventually left my small town. But at that time, one of those microaggressions that I experienced was a lot of, if I'm being my personal experience, white boys telling me,
"Oh, you are so pretty for a black girl."
This was also during the time in my life where I was perming my natural hair. So my natural hair was very long. I've always had pretty long hair, but this was at a point where it was easy to see the length because I was perming my hair, right? And I was damaging it. And a lot of white boys would tell me, "You're so beautiful. Your hair is so long. How come other black girls' hair is not as long as yours, you know?"
"Oh, you're so beautiful for a black girl. Like, I never was interested in black girls, but I'd be interested in you."
These are things that I would hear constantly growing up in a predominantly white suburban neighborhood school. So they were very affirming it to me at the time. I thought that, I was different. I was set aside. I'm one of those girls. I'm different from the other black girls. And it's just funny looking back at it and just realizing how wrong I was and how weird and awkward and crazy it was that I used to think that those were compliments, just not knowing any better. And I'm sure a lot of other black girls watching this video, if you're watching, maybe you've heard it before, maybe you felt the same way at one point in your life too. And maybe you came to the same realization that I did, that, hey, like, that's not a compliment, Maybe at one point in your life you thought it was. And then you wake up and you realize that is a very, very mean backhanded compliment. And it doesn't mean what you think it means. It means, hey, I don't like black girls. I don't see the beauty in them. I don't think that they're beautiful. However, you are kind of one of the ones that I would be like okay with. Like, that's basically what that means. It doesn't mean, wow, you were the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. It means, despite you being black, I guess, like, you're cute, So realizing that and having those life experiences have honestly allowed me to shape who I am in my mind and how I see things and how I take things in today. And I hope that you guys also, if you haven't learned that lesson for yourself up until this point, I hope you learn it now. And if you have learned that lesson up until this point, comment down below what made you realize that that compliment was not a compliment, or when did you realize that that was just never a compliment? I'm curious to hear other people's stories. Actress Tika Sumpter said in an interview, "I'm not beautiful for a black girl. I'm beautiful. Period. That qualifier isn't a compliment. It's an insult, and that's that." That statement implies most black girls aren't beautiful, which I mentioned before. And I just kind of want to reiterate, especially if there is a non-POC watching this video or just a non-black person watching this video, and you've used that yourself, you've said that yourself, not knowing that it means what it means. It's not a compliment. It does imply that most black girls aren't beautiful, and it feeds into a scarcity mindset. Like, there's only room for one of us at the table. That's not representation, that's tokenism. And you never want to allow yourself to fall into that tokenism, black girl, black guy role, because that's when you're no longer really looked at as a human or as yourself. You're looked at as a check mark. And that is a whole separate story in itself and a separate video in itself.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about colorism within the black community. Colorism is prejudice or discrimination within a racial or ethnic group favoring lighter-skinned people over darker-skinned people. Colorism evolved during slavery. Slave owners would often favor lighter-skinned slaves because they were usually family members. Slave owners would often rape enslaved women, creating light-skinned babies. Even though they didn't necessarily love their mixed kids, they would give them special treatment, such as being able to work in the house, while the darker-skinned slaves had to work outside doing the more gruesome work. This created a hierarchy between lighter-skinned black people and darker-skinned black people that we still see today. I talk about this kind of stuff because we cannot fix a problem if we don't know where it roots from. I see so much colorism within the black community just on my For You page, and it's honestly disgusting. So maybe with me spreading this knowledge to you guys, y'all can take this into consideration and change your mindset, because if not, you are still letting slavery control you, and this will be a never-ending cycle until a generation breaks it.
Rewriting the narrative. So where do we go from here? The good news is we're in a moment of cultural shift. Dark-skinned women are taking center stage unapologetically, and I'm honestly here for it. And I say dark-skinned women because that is the skin tone of Black women that has always been scrutinized. As a dark-skinned woman myself, experiencing this, seeing this in media, Love Island, different, just all my life seeing this. I'm emphasizing dark-skinned women because a lot of people, when they talk about Black women and how Black women are uplifted, you know, they can talk about that and that can be facts, but I think we should also talk about the problems within our own community. There is colorism in our community, and one of the women that get it the worst out of all Black women is dark-skinned women. And I have been seeing a big change when it comes to how dark-skinned women are perceived in media, how they're perceived in beauty, and how they are taking center stage when it comes to fashion, modeling, high fashion, Love Island, like love shows, dating shows, all these things. You know, they're no longer taking that backseat, and I'm here for it. But I'm not only just referencing just dark-skinned women, Black women as a whole, but definitely I am proud to see that dark-skinned women are getting out of that hole as well. Examples of this are the rise of artists like Ari Lennox, who embrace 4C hair and very wide noses. Beyonce does as well too. Brand campaigns centering deeper complexions like Fenty Beauty's early launches. We love Rihanna. YouTubers and TikTokers creating safe spaces for Black beauty. Beyonce and Brown Skin Girl, it's not average, it's magic. What else did Beyonce say in a Brown Skin Girl? She said, pretty dark skin with the... Hold on, I have to look it up now. Hold on. I'm gonna look it up for you guys. And I know it made a lot of people mad, but I really don't care because no, I love the fact that Beyonce emphasized a beauty that even she couldn't fully relate to as a lighter skinned woman. She needed an Oscar for that pretty dark skin, pretty like Lupita when the cameras close in. Beyonce, queen, uplifting dark skin, even though she doesn't even have dark skin herself, she understands. She said, I think tonight she might braid her braids, melanin too dark to throw her shade. And then also Beyonce has made references in her song about her and her Negro nose, like she loves her and her Negro nose and things like that. Basically just trying to emphasize, like, even in Brown Skin Girl, I love everything about you from your nappy curls to every single curve. Like, these are the things that Black women, especially dark-skinned women who grew up never seeing representation of their type of beauty, love and are now being allowed to hear. And that's why sometimes even me on social media, on my Instagram, when I uplift my skin, my beauty, my hair, and people comment and they're like, oh, well, like all Black girls are like, oh, I love my dark skin. And people are like, oh, like, you know, I love your dark skin, can't relate, you know, like different things like that. I'm just like, hey, don't get mad when Black women, specifically dark skinned women, uplift themselves and uplift their beauty, because there was not always a time that they were allowed to do so, or that they were even able to really do so. So when you see dark skinned women doing that as a Black woman, cheer for them. Because the same way I will uplift my skin tone or whatever, any Black woman, any skin tone, I will uplift you as well, okay? But I sometimes feel like when people see dark skinned women specifically doing it, they get a little triggered, like, oh, like, why does she think she's so beautiful? Why does she think her skin is so different? Because it is, and because she is. And that's okay. We can all be beautiful. There's space for all of us to be beautiful. Do you understand?
No, can we like actually talk about this? Because literally I feel like crying right now. I'm angry right now because I feel like I have to keep dealing with this constantly. I literally got fired from my other job because of something similar to this, and now I'm dealing with a new job, and I have this lady like that is constantly so rude and hates me just because I'm confident with myself and I dress like really, I like to dress up when I'm going to work. So, and she likes to dress up too, and she always thinks like it's a competition or something, and she's literally a manager. You know what she just said to me right now? She literally just told me, I saw her, she was sitting down in the tables literally watching me while she was like, I don't know, she does this thing where she like will literally flirt with all the guys to make sure that they're not like, I don't even understand it. I don't even understand it because I'm just like, girl, you're doing too fucking much. But you know what she just did right now? She was sitting down, and she came an hour later after. She was like sitting down for like 30 minutes just staring at me. She left, came back right now, and then she told me, do you have a hair tie for your poofy hair? It's everywhere. For your poofy hair, it's going everywhere. And I am shaking right now because I just can't believe that she even said this. Like, I literally can't believe she even said this. Like, girl, you even if I tie this shit up, I'm still gonna look pretty as fuck. I don't give a fuck. I'm still gonna look pretty. I'm still gonna look good. So what's the issue? Because we're both pretty girls. So I don't understand why you're trying to act like this is a competition. Like, don't fucking play with me. I can't deal with this shit anymore. Like, I don't give a fuck. I am gonna be talking shit back. I don't care.
We are not waiting to be validated anymore. We're building new beauty standards from the ground up, for us, by us. And I'm absolutely here for it. So, ladies and gents, if somebody ever tells you you're pretty for a black girl, you should tell them you're basic for a human being. No, I'm just playing. Don't say that. That's me. Don't say that. Your beauty does not need permission. It doesn't need a qualifier. You are the standard. You always have been. So thank you, besties, so much for watching this video. If you resonated with anything discussed in this video, leave a comment down below and let's start a conversation. These are the type of videos I love making because they have so many nuances to it. I have a personal relation and experience with it, and it's something that I want to bring and gather more and more women who understand these types of conversations to my channel, so we can really get into these topics and let's dive deeper. Maybe there's things I didn't touch on in this video. Leave a comment down below, some things that you wish I touched on, some things that you would like to elaborate on, or even just your own experience of being called pretty for a black girl. And let's open up this conversation. I'm excited to read your comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a bestie.